Good morning everybody and welcome back into another video here on the channel where today we're taking a look at another LEGO Zelda custom set, specifically to today Z088 with 346 pieces and Z089 with 299 pieces. These are a smaller version of art but something super iconic that I wanted to take a weird stab at and hopefully you guys find interesting. These are my Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild cover art banners, otherwise just known as the banner collection, and these guys recreate the main game cover art for both Tears of the Kingdom and Breath of the Wild and include a minifigure each. First up we had the Tears of the Kingdom one taking the skies of Hyrule to life. We'll take a closer look in a second. It's for ages 8 and up with 346 pieces as mentioned, with a whopping retail price of $34.99, again going a little bit overpriced there, mimicking some real life, with one minifigure. And then we have Z0089, the Breath of the Wild banner, with 299 pieces retailing again for $34.99 and with one minifigure. And I chose to do these two because of their lovely watercolor art and because I was looking for interesting things to do with the art theme. I had these on the list for a while, so this certainly isn't just a random idea that I came up with one afternoon and went, that'll be perfect. This felt like a natural evolution and a small addition to our art theme after the Champions art, so I'm excited to take a look at them. Let's quickly read the description. Add these iconic game posters to your home with the new LEGO Legend of Zelda wall display banners. Small, engaging builds that are perfect for gaming fans recreate the cover arts of Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom in 3D LEGO form, packed with interesting techniques and an exclusive minifigure, which make these guys a really interesting part of the product portfolio to take a look at. So let's start out by having a look at the first one, which is the one from Tears of the Kingdom. But before we do that, I wanted to show them together on a wall. Obviously they're small and cutesy, obviously can be hung up by the peg, or they are thick enough at the bottom so that they could just sort of stand upright on a desk or something as well. And because they're such important key art, I think that's really, really interesting. Plus the techniques here are a lot of fun and definitely remind me of that Champions art. So, and as I said, let's take a look at the Tears of the Kingdom one. It's kind of hard to know where to start with these ones. I suppose it's faux 3D, so a lot of it is plate layering. However, there are definitely some more thicker brick-built assemblies attached on here. Again, comparing this to the Champions art because it's the closest thing to it. There's also an element of perspective, but mostly I was just trying to abstract elements from the original game poster and do my best with them. A lot of stuff is really simple, such as like the clouds here, specifically the small wispy ones. Were guaranteed to use that new Monkey Kid piece because it's perfect. But the bigger clouds I went basically freehand with. We used some bracket pieces to bring them off the wall and built sideways on for a lot of it. Here you can see at the top, but this lower section here to get it more cloudy and puffy actually sticks bricks directly onto the tiled base, and you can see a variety of different curved shapes here and bow elements and different sizes to add some thickness and so on. And this actually here specifically breaks up the difference in background color. For the sky we have a light aqua, and then for the upper sky where it gets a bit darker, we've actually got a blue background, and both of these just have some boat studs on the back to secure it and a quick frame. And while I'm out there, I'll mention of course that hook at the top. Now it's interesting to try and gauge depth of color and so on here, especially when you're so high up in the sky, which results in us using a teal to sort of wash out the land and suggest that it's down below, as well as on the opposite end of things using a dark blue to represent sort of the darker portion of the sky, despite this not taking place at nighttime, which creates one big controversy, which is the fact that I've had to use white for the sun because using yellow made it look ridiculous, and I'm trying to go for a style here, but it definitely makes it look like this actually takes place at night, and the Breath of the Wild one actually has a similar problem as well. So maybe not my finest moment there, but the actual effect of light is recreated here. We've got the sun as a white 3x3 circle with an aqua 4x4 around it, and then actually a bit of turquoise to recreate sort of that light bloom, and then dark blue and light blue depending on where we are in the sky. There are skylands, of course, recreated here in two different styles. We've got, of course, just wedges layered up to create the idea that there is a dark bluish underneath and then a bright orange yellow surface for the grass. And this, of course, is correctly placed on the photo and is accurate to the other skyland sets that we've had before. And then we've got this wacky one, which is where the minifigure poses. You can see the superhero poser piece over here, and a variety of techniques. Here's interesting because not only have we got a assembly that you build and then sort of stick onto the wall, again sideways using various different bracket pieces, but there is also some tile work that's been plated on and then just sort of layered over, which adds a nice bit of depth, something that Funnily enough, these were designed before the Champions art, so something that then would go on to aid me really well in the Champions art set that I'm continuing to talk about. The actual sort of structure that's on this island was a bit more of a challenge because I knew I wanted to have sort of a stepped effect, which you can see here with the grill plates, but to make it actually look like stairs, I've cut them off with these wedges to create sort of the stepped hand railing that goes up alongside it, and then there has to be this nice flat area for us to pose our minifigure, which we'll take a look at in a second. I wasn't originally going to include figures, but they just turned out to be the right scale for it, so instead of doing like a print or a sticker, I decided to include a minifigure, and I think that's what gives this product idea its own little bit of pizzazz, so I'm quite a big fan of that really. Heading back down to the ground for the moment, I've got to talk about Hyrule Castle, which is present here in dark bluish grey, again to contrast everything else. You can see that there's a little bit of black around the bottom to make it look like it's floating, as well as some wisps of malice coming off it, and then Death Mountain taking the most iconic parts of the skyline that you can see. You can actually see the Hebra Storm, which I suppose you could say is being represented by this white cloud on the left-hand side, but it's not really intentional. Effectively, you've got the various different mountains and hills surrounding it, and then plating in front of it. There's some layering here just to make it look like you've got some more varied terrain, and then, as I said, the red wisps coming out of both Death Mountain and Hyrule Castle being the surroundings, and I really like how that looks. I'd love to have this one specifically in real life one day. At the bottom, we've got one of these big tiles from Friends and Disney here that we're using in Aqua, with a big sticker of the Tears of the Kingdom logo, and then some white bricks around the base for more clouds. And throughout the air, there are a couple of different leaves floating around and so on, which I quite like. And yeah, I like the colour balancing. It's really fresh, feels really different to me. And I don't know, for a recreation of a fairly ornate watercolour art piece, I'm pretty pleased with how this one turned out. On the other hand then, let's go take a look at the Breath of the Wild one, which is definitely, in my opinion, inferior, although I can see some of you liking it more. And when I say inferior, I think the bottom half is really strong, and then about halfway up, once we hit the sky, things go off the rails, because the Breath of the Wild poster takes place in a lot more daylight. There's a lot more yellowy, orangey hues here, and it doesn't quite work as well in Lego form. For the sky, I've still kept the blue and dark blue for where is appropriate on the poster, but as we come down into those sunlight clouds, we actually are using tan here to show that they are sort of lit and illuminated, with a little bit of bright orangish yellow for some of the more highlighted and again the Monkey Kid cloud pieces. We've actually got the birds that are in the sky here represented with boomerang pieces, and then truly just a variety of all shaped tiles to try and make these fluffy clouds. I really, almost now looking back, don't know how I feel about using the preformed cloud piece. I didn't actually use it anywhere in the Tears of the Kingdom one, so seeing it here looks a bit random and maybe a little unfinished, so perhaps I should go back and fix up that corner. And then just beneath it, actually, this big white lump is actually the sun, or really I should say the light source for this one. Again, this is the front game cover art, not the art that you see on the title screen for the game, which is why it is this version where we have the minifigure stood facing into the wall effectively. But as you come down, you enter from these light clouds to the darker clouds. These are on like the bottom side, and then that brings us down to the landscape, which I like a lot more. It's obviously an overlook over Hyrule from the rock, most likely in the Great Plateau, so you get sort of an idea of the horizon. Again, we've got a mountain in the background, again done in dark bluish grey. We've got the castle over in the middle, this time grounded and a little bit bigger in black, as if it's silhouetted. And then we've got these different layers of sand, blue and dark bluish grey to recreate the different hills and slopes that you will sort of trek over and wander. And I really like how this looks, because it does show that hill and valley effect. One other detail we have is this thin little pole representing a Sheikah Tower, and then as we get closer we have a representation of a lake here using grill tiles to add a little bit of texture. Oh wait, actually, is this a bridge? I don't remember now. Anyway, it is a feature that stands out, and that is put between these cut plates. Right down at the front, we come into the foreground and the hill that Link stands on. We've got a snot-built rock assembly, which just attaches with those 2x2 brackets and with a sticky out bit to the wall. We've got some grass off to the side to put this into foreground, and there's a wonderful sense of scaling that happens with this model. We've got some more snot rock assemblies, again around that big oval tile with the Breath of the Wild logo on it, and then just behind it we have some grass to represent the hill going up. And part of it I maybe don't like, but I do like how high colour contrast it is. And again, you pose Link on these two studs here, and you put him facing the wall effectively, which is a real great use of this figure, but I had to draw a brand new figure for this. Either way, I have something I want to show you of them before we go take a look at the figures. The thing I wanted to show you was this render. Now, I've put this on the community tab before, but I really like this one, and you'll be seeing it again in the 100 set recaps. But what I like about this is it showcases so many different LEGO Zelda sets that we've designed here on the channel all together. But we're here not to take a look at this in detail. That will be for a future video, but if there's anything cool you spot there, let me know. But if we zoom in to the middle here, we can see our two art pieces, just showing them in their stood up form and how nice they look next to each other. Also, if I pan up a little bit, you can see the champions art, and definitely that there are some similarities between the art style while being completely different. Obviously, this product idea took a lot of inspiration from stuff like brick sketches, but I wouldn't call these brick sketches. I probably will do some eventually. Instead, this sort of became its own thing, and I quite like that. And I can't quite remember how I stumbled on the idea originally, but it was definitely something that I'd sat on for a while and was like, this would be cool to recreate in a brick sketch style product. So I did, and I think they're cool, and I would like to own the Tears of the Kingdom one day because it is very, very fresh. Maybe the Breath of the Wild one too, we will see. But let's jump into those minifigures and take a quick look now. So first up is Link in his Champion's Leathers, of course, from Tears of the Kingdom. Here you can see him here, of course, he's got his cape on. Now this is the same figure that has appeared in Lookout Landing and the Master Koga set from Wave 8. The only difference here is, of course, that I've put the legs on backwards. Otherwise it is the same figure, same hairpiece, same facial expression, with the sort of stern and on it expression, and then with the tunic, of course, going down. And yes, there would be printing on the other side of the legs. That means that you could use this figure as a normal one, but this is how he's posed up for this specific set, crouching just like you can see in the image there. And then this is the Champion's Tunic one from the Breath of the Wild one, and again this is the normal Champion's Tunic Link figure that I can't show you the front of because he actually needs to be remastered still, but it is exactly as if he is facing into the background. And yes, he should have a quiver, but that headpiece does not allow it, so deal with it. Maybe it would be printed on as a special variant, but otherwise it is the same Champion's Tunic that we've used since Wave 1 in the Guardians Attack set. So really simple figures to take a look at here, dual modded arms. At this point you know this one because we've got an official one that's actually pretty cool, although this one does have bracing. But again, yeah, Champion's Tunic. And that is actually going to do it for taking a look at these two smaller art sets, Z0088 and Z089. I hope you enjoyed the fact that this one's so different. I know that the Champions art took a long while to get traction, and I think that these ones are cute in a similar way and have a lot of special sort of energy to them. I wouldn't be too surprised if we ended up seeing something along this line. I think it's quite difficult to pull off because obviously they're such beautiful art pieces originally that translate into the Lego form just doesn't work very well. However, I'm glad I gave it a go and I'm pleased with the end result. So let me know what you think of these down below. Let's see how they quickly fit into the first 100. That fills 99 out of 100 gaps with only one more left coming in just a couple of weeks before we wrap up the first 100. And it is an interesting one. Something, again, that's got some really cool canon stuff, some little bit of Twilight Princess, but is also something very wacky and cool, and I love it a lot. So I hope you guys will stick around for that. Let me know what you think of the banner sets down below, and I will see you guys again in that video, and hopefully another one coming next Friday. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Bye-bye.